Hello and welcome. I'm Bigfoot, and this is episode 9 of my Let's Play series. That's a lot of episodes. Okay, so where we are at the moment is we are looking at the bus, which is what I finished in the last episode, and all the furnaces and the steel and the iron and everything else. And what I want to do now is start moving on with some more interesting things. And to me, what that means is the jumble, the shopping mall portion of the factory. Obviously, if I ever get to, well, if I ever, I will definitely get to a point where I'm going to switch this factory on. And at the point I switch it on, don't really know what that moment might be, but I will definitely need a whole load of stuff to be constructed ready for me that my starter base isn't currently building and is currently a complete pain in the backside. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move the camera over, fill in some lake, go and claim some territory from the biters, and then start building the jumble. That's the plan. Right, so camera is moved, lake is filled in a bit, territory is expanded. So we are ready to get on with the jumble. So the plan is the jumble to go up here in this space here. So this will be the main bus. The main bus is obviously, let's have a look at the map. The main bus is going to come through here. It's going to carry on through for whatever needs nuclear power, and then whatever needs to come up is going to come up. Some stuff's going to need to come down. Some stuff that's going to be down here needs to come up. Some stuff's up here needs to come down. All sorts of stuff's going to need to go on. But the bus is going to be here, and then I'm going to put the jumble, the shopping mall up here. So the first thing I need to worry about is the science, because I need to, well, what I want to do is I want to feed the inputs on this side. I want the inputs to travel through the jumble shopping mall, and then whatever is needed for the science is going to come out the other side. So that's going to come on a little kind of science bus over the back of the jumble. Then that little science bus is going to come down. It's going to come across here, and then it's going to go down here, and then it's going to do something similar on the bottom half when it gets to science. So for this half of the science bus, let's call it that, I'm just going to be dealing with 3 of the sciences, and then I'm going to deal with the other 3 of the sciences on the other side of this main big bus. So what I need here is to plan out that little bus. If we have a look in Mod, I've already set up the 6 different sciences, all with the amount of SPM that, well, this is per second, so times this by 60 to get to 350. It's already set up with all of the science ready to go. So this is what I need to make in my shopping mall. Right, so what I want on this side is red science, green science, and black science. Now, it might not necessarily be the case that I deal with these particular items on this side of the bus. It might be that I have to deal with them on the other side of the bus. And I'm particularly thinking of ammunition here. That generally goes over there. That's what I generally do. So it might have to find its way round, come back in, or maybe I'll swap it with one of the other ones for science that I'll build over this side, and then I'll swap it further down below. Really, all I want to do is allot a certain amount of space for those belts, and then if those belts change or move in the future, then that's not a problem. As long as I've allotted enough space, I can reuse them for different resources if that's what I want to do when I come there. So what I need on this side of the bus for the time being, I'm going to do with black science first. So here we need 3 ammunition, 3 grenades, and 5.9 walls. So this is all going to fit on one belt. I mean, to be honest, all of these things are going to fit on one belt quite happily. 5.9 conveyor belts, 5.9 inserters, and 5.9 copper and 5.9 gears. So all of this stuff, in fact, copper is obviously in the main bus, and that doesn't need to be dealt with. That doesn't need to come up here, but I need to allot it the same space in this because it's going to occupy the same space. So I need to allot it a lane. Even if I don't use it, it's going to get used in the bottom half of this little science bus, but it won't get used in the top half. But I'm going to allot it space anyway. So what I need then is 7 belts, and I'm going to put in my standard elegance gap. So what it will look like is that. That will be replicated up here. And that is my science bus. So I'm going to close it off with a wall, like I do with everything. So I mean, this is how I plan things out. I mean, it's probably becoming quite used. You're probably becoming quite used to it by now. But I like to think of all the little things before I deal with the big things. So I've obviously had to deal with my science bus and my paths. I wanted to get the railways in so that I know that that's where that's going. I don't forget about it later on in the world, in life. You know, I've wanted to get. So I've down below here on this line, I've got my electricity robot lanes running vertically, and because the orientation of the factory kind of changes along this line, I'm now going to run them horizontally, and that kind of makes sense. You know, my blocks are going to run this way, the inputs from the main bus are going to work the way along this way. It kind of makes sense to change the direction of the electricity as well. That wasn't actually my original plan. My original plan was to run them vertically and carry it on, but it doesn't actually make any sense. This is a natural line to change it, so that's what I've done. Anyway, so at this point I want to set out my standard. I've got a standard set up for my conveyor belts, so I'm just going to pop it on the map and see how things pan out. I'm going to make some small changes, but not big ones. Yeah, so this is kind of the standard setup for my conveyor belts. So this is kind of how the process starts. So I just kind of these are all the processes that I need for conveyor belts. So I build it up from here, and then I will fill in the gaps with the bus in a moment. So if we move from the main bus across the left, what we have here is my blue belt setup. So these blue belts will come out, they'll come in here and get stored in these chests. At some point in the future, I'm going to need so many blue belts that, you know, and these take quite a long time to make, so, and a lot of gears. So I want a lot of storage so that I know that I've got plenty of it when I come to that point. So that's blue belts. Then we'll have the storage for the red belts doing exactly the same thing, except we've obviously got an output so it can feed into the blue belts. These are the red belts. Then we've got the same again, the yellow storage for the yellow belts, and then the yellow belt manufacturing. So what's going to happen is the yellow belts are going to come out here, come in here. I'll get to the yellow belts in a moment. The red belts will come out here, come in here, go in here. They'll come out, go into the blue belts. The blue belts will come out and then go into here, go into the storage for there. So it kind of leaps from one to the other. Yellow belts are a little more tricky because they don't just go right, they need to go left as well, because then they need to feed science, and they'll also need to go somewhere so that I can make the research labs. So they'll have to come in out here into the middle of the kind of the main bus for this section and move its way left and right. And then we've got all of the gears. So that's what these are going to do. So I haven't done this many gears before for my conveyor belts, but I've got all of this space, so it kind of makes sense to use it. And I've got a lot of iron coming into the jumble, so why not use it all in an elegant way as possible? That's the way I kind of feel about it. I'm going to need a lot of blue belts, so it's a good way of getting a lot of blue belts. So in order to utilize a full blue belt of iron plate and make it into gears, you need 9 assembly machines, but I don't like that. I think it looks inelegant, so I just use 8, and then, you know, that iron plate can find its way to other processes in the factory. You know, this is not critical for SPM. I need maybe 2 of these assembly machines to make enough gears to get enough conveyor belts. You know, that's not critical. I'm trying to do 2 things. I want a lot of gears. I want a lot of conveyor belts, but I've also got some space to burn. You know, I had I think in my mind when I was approaching this, I was only going to use 2 of the blue belts and have 2 blocks of gears. But now that I've got all this space, I may as well use it. So yeah, this is the way I lay things out so that I can so that I can plan the way that the conveyor belts are going to come in naturally in an elegant way. This is where the end. This is where my science bus is going to be. It's going to be somewhere down here. This is going to be the end. So I'll run a wall line up here, and then whatever processes need to happen will be in this space. This will be my allotted target space that I'll try and fill with all of these bits and pieces that I'm going to need. It's going to get really tricky. Anyway, that's for another moment. I'll explain what I'm trying to achieve here next, at some point in the future. For the moment, I just want to concentrate on conveyor belts. So what I need to do here is start feeding in the inputs. Okay, so we've sorted out the main inputs, and we've got the conveyor belts feeding the things that's doing its leaping. And up here, I've kind of put some more assembly machines. Kind of, they're not in any specific place. They're just there so that I can plan where the inputs are going to go. So I don't know. You may have called it earlier. You're going to need, in order to use 8 of these conveyor belts of iron ore, I need 8 of these blocks of gears, and I've only got 4 on the bottom half, and I need to put some stuff on the top half, and I need more gears for that stuff as well. So by putting this stuff up here, I can plan for it without knowing precisely where it's going to go. And also by doing that, what I want to do is I want to mix these outputs so that no one conveyor belt is fed by no one conveyor belt of gears is fed by no one single source of iron. So everything kind of gets mixed up in this process. It also helps to join them all together in that way. Anyway, in my experience, anyway. So that's what I want to do now. I want to join the outputs of the gear wheels together, and then feed them through. And then I'm going to feed the iron ore above that feed the iron plate above that to feed these units. So 45 iron plate only makes 22.5 gear wheels. So I need to combine 2 of these kind of 8 blocks of 8 assembly machines together in order to completely fill a blue conveyor belt. So I've got 8 conveyor belts of iron plate coming in. I only need 4 belts of gears coming out. So the way I wanted to do it was the way I've got it on the screen. So I wanted to join the 2 opposite halves together to make a complete belt. So that's what I've done. But as is normally the case with these things, I couldn't get it to work without a gap down the middle. You can't get it to work because these 2 belts are tight together. I just couldn't get it to work. So what I've done, problem solving, Mr. Bigfoot, is to remove the yellow conveyor belt that was here where the bottom gear is, and I'm going to run the yellow conveyor belts through the middle here. Lovely jubbly. That's how you use this space elegantly, in my opinion. So I filled in all the other conveyor belts for the iron plate, and I moved these gears down to, well, these assembly machines down to where I think they're going to be, but they might need to move out 1 or 2, see how it goes with the rest of this. So what I need to put in here is all the other bits and pieces that I need for conveyor belts, so the underground belts and the splitters. And I have a pretty standard setup for this. Yeah, so I'm just going to piece it together. So, I mean, the philosophy for this is very, very similar to what I was doing for the conveyor belts below. So we create each item, and then that moves on to the next item, and that moves on to the next item. I suppose the only difference is all of these conveyor belts that are coming in and out, these are all iron or gears. And I need some chips for the splitters. So instead of trying to route the splitters, those computer chips through here and trying to find its way around to the splitters on the other side, I just bring in another little bus along here. Along here I'm going to have another one of those lines for my power and robot ports. So, and that conveyor belt lines up with the edge of this assembly machine. So, it's not like I've done this before or nothing. It's I can more or less put this stuff together by memory and feel alone. Okay, so what I need here, what I'm going to put here is all the extended conveyor belts that I need. So the extended versions of some of these things, because that's something that I definitely need. That's what's next. So there is conveyor belts. My standard setup. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So next would be inserters. Now I have got a bit of an issue here in that I don't really want to use this many. I don't need this many gears for inserters. I think what I'm just going to do is 2 of these. I'm not going to do the full 8. I'm just going to, well, say the 2 lots of 2. I'm not going to do all of it. I'm just going to do half. And then I'll do the inserters. But normally the back line of this block is here-ish, and the gears use about the same amount of space, and then the inserters use about the same amount of space. But because I've got this extra space, I'm going to have to fill it with something else. This is going to become frequent because I've made this block a lot bigger than I'm used to. I'm going to have to do things slightly differently than I would otherwise, but that's kind of the joy for me. Doing stuff differently. It's only a little bit different, but it's enough. So that is just all of the inserters, all sorted. I've had to do it kind of all in one go. I'm trying to reuse belts, so this iron and gears, I think it is. No, iron and inserters I'm using for both the red chips, the red inserters and the blue inserters, because they share them. So I'm saving some space. I'm also burning some space with some elegance caps. I'm still doing that. I don't really know why. Normally I would jam all this together. I think a part of it is because I'm trying to show it clearly so that you can see what each block, what it's doing. Or at least that's what I'm telling myself. I'm trying out the elegance, see what happens. But this is the gap that I need to fill. The gap that I was just referring to. And I think what I'm going to do, is fill it with things that need red chips. So I've brought in these red chips. This line here is red chips to go to stack inserters, and I feel like it would be a good place to use to build anything that needs red chips and gears as well. Maybe that's where I'm going to start. I've got this mod called "What is it really used for?" and I find this dead handy. So what I generally do is I chuck something in there that I know that I want to use. So what I need to find out is gear wheels. That's what I want to find out. What needs gear wheels and red chips. So I'll start off with gear wheels, and just see where it needs to go. So railroad port's a good one. Repair pack's a good one. Centrifuge, maybe. I'd have to bring in concrete, but maybe. Lab is a good one. On gun turrets, that would be a good one. So I've got a lot of options here. I'm going to just throw something in the space, whatever fits, whatever works for me. What I'm going to start with is repair packs and rubber ports. Awkward little gap filled. Nice, I'm happy. So what I filled it with is repair packs, then rubber ports. So I haven't unlocked rubber ports yet, so I can't program that into the assembly machine. But what I do to remind myself, because obviously I could easily forget that this is rubber ports. You know, that's not outside the realms of possibility. What I do is I put it inside the inserter. So even though I haven't unlocked it yet, we still have access to all of the ingredients in the list for circuitry purposes. So you can select the robot port in here. Well, I select the robot port in here, and that's what reminds me what this assembly machine is making when I get round to getting there. So these three are making robot ports. These two are making tanks. This is actually another useful side effect of having 3 assembly machines in groups of 3, because then I can, if I've got 4 ingredients and then 1 output, so I'd need 5 belts, then I can just remove that in an assembly machine, and just that's where the storage for the tanks go, and then I've just got the 4 inputs to worry about. I don't need that many tanks. So yeah, then I've got cars, and then I've got turrets. So that's the space filled. And now would be assembly machines and mining drills, and then I'm going to have an even bigger gap to fill. Fun times. So assembly machines, they're done, all sorted. And this, I've obviously got this big gap that I was just talking about, same as it was before. You know, if it's not clear by now, I kind of just feel my way through this. If I find myself with a gap like this, then I start looking through the recipe list and trying to find stuff that I can build that uses these kind of basic elements I'm already bringing in. Whatever I'm bringing in with these conveyor belts, I try and use those, and I try and relate it back to these original gear wheels. So probably the next layer up, it won't be gear wheels anymore. It will probably be copper cable, because there's a whole lot of things that I need to make that include copper cable. So there's no point doing more gear wheels for that section. I'm just going to do same again, just copper cables, and that would feed all of the things that need the copper cable. And there's a whole lot of things that need pipes. So I might have a couple of these. Might have a big chunk of stuff that needs pipes. So, and again, I'll do exactly the same thing. I'll have a whole chunk of stuff here that feeds the pipes through, and then that will make the things that use the pipes. And I think the ones that use the pipes, I think it will need gears as well. So I probably will do half pipes, half gears. And that's probably what I'll do when I get there. So it's just a case of feeling my way through it. And for also one thing to mention for this, well, a couple of things to mention for this particular factory. So one of the things that I want to be able to do is race with tanks, and for no particular reason. So what I want to be able to achieve is the robots to be able to rebuild more or less the entire factory if that happens to get damaged whilst you firing tanks at your mates whilst racing around the track. So what I want to do is make everything. That's the goal. I want to make all of the main buildings and furnaces and whatever assembly machine, everything. I'm going to make everything that could possibly get damaged. The other thing is that I want to provide all of the armor, and you know, when you arrive in this racetrack, I want you to be able to request, you know, the latest suit and the exoskeletons and some batteries and some fusions. I want you to be able to request all of that from the robot network and get it instantly delivered to you. So I want to have all of that constructed at the same time. So essentially, I'm going to try and set up a mall which makes absolutely everything. That's the goal. That's what I'm trying to aim for. Or at least all of the things that I think I will definitely use. There are a few items that I definitely won't use, and I probably won't make those. Now, in the past, what has happened is that it's been really difficult to get both sides of this kind of jumble the same size, and I've kind of boxed myself in with the positioning of these steam turbines, these steam furnaces, because I'm gonna have to draw a line somewhere across here where above it is the steam furnaces and below it is the shopping mall, and it's going to be really tricky coordinating where that line's going to go so there's an equal amount of stuff left of the bus and right of the bus. I'm almost certain that at some point there's going to be an unacceptable gap that I'm going to have to accept, but you know, I think that's just the cost of doing business. And also I want to feed the track the racetrack back in at some point. You know, that will probably help me with these problems that I'm having with these big gaps. But not big gaps, just trying to fill this space. I mean, it's a big old space to fill. If I can bring the racetrack in and then bring it up, then I can use a big chunk of that space for the racetrack. That's kind of my idea, but I don't really know how this is going to work out with the trains. That's kind of... I do need to start thinking about that. What I need, but not yet. I need to fill in this space first. Once I fill in this space, I can start thinking about how it works with the rest of the factory, I think. And what I'm going to put in here is two things. Firstly, power. So some power lines. Those will need iron bars, and because if I'm producing iron bars, then I may as well produce train stations, and a few other things that might need them. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to fill this space with. Some, railway signals. Yeah, that sort of thing. That's what I'm going to try and put in this area. So I ended up having to rebuild all of this because I completely forgot to put the space in for the research labs, which this is where it needed to go. This is where I wanted it to go, and then I forgot to put it there. So I had to knock everything down, rebuild it. I think what I've actually done is build it in such a way that it occupies a smaller amount of area. It doesn't feel like, anyway, it doesn't feel like feels like it's in a similar sort of area. I think I feel like I've reused belts for, anyway, doesn't matter. Then I put the iron bar stuff. So we've got power poles, train station. Then I figured, well, I've got train station. Let's put some train stuff here. So I've got railway signals, and then because I'm bringing in the engine for the car and the tank, well, may as well put the locomotive here. I've got the train stuff. So yeah, that goes here. I was going to try and squeeze in electric substations, but that doesn't look like enough space to me, and I could get it to work, but it would look ugly. It would look ugly, so let's just leave it the way it is. I've also just been looking at the damn map and trying to think of my grand plan. Ugh. Sometimes you can wrap yourself up in this stuff, and it stops you from moving anywhere because you think about it too hard. So this is going to be like a railway zone for railways to turn around and move about and stuff. And I was thinking about building it. I can't build it here because I've got lake in the way. I need to fill that while it's in the time lapse. I can't build it here because I've got stone in the way. So the only place I could build it is here. So I'd have to extend the perimeter wall out, have a play around with the railways. You know what? I'm done planning. I'm in a bullish kind of a mood. So what I'm going to do instead is say, screw you game, I'm going to put it where I want it to go right now for this, and then I'm going to make it through pure force of will. I'm going to make it work for the base. So somewhere along the ways I'm going to need a path, then I'm going to need a railway line, then I'm going to need the racetrack, and wherever I decide to put that railway line, it's going to have to extend all the way across, and that's going to be the defining line. And I'm just going to put it where I want it to go. Sod it. Yeah, sod it. So, however, always the case, I've got to move the damn time lapse. So I haven't shown you for a while. Let's have a look where we are. So here we are. I've clearly filled all of my available time. Other than the railways, which is going to come around here somewhere. I've clearly filled all of the available space that's available to me. So I need to move the camera up. So I completely changed my mind on that one. The copper cable stuff, I've decided I'm going to put somewhere else, and what I've put here instead is the stuff that needs gear wheels and pipes. My thinking was that the racetrack is going to come in here and go up as I've laid out, and that's going to make this block smaller, and I think the copper cable stuff is going to occupy a smaller space. So what I've put down here is the stuff that needs pipes, and then also the stuff that needs pipes and gear wheels. So these blocks at the end, they're making pipes, most of them, and then one of them is making gear wheels, and they're mixing together. So this is a combined pipe and gear wheel conveyor belt. And what I found is that there's a lot of things that need specifically gears and pipes. So this is where I'm going to put this is where I have put all of that stuff. So we've got pipes. I'm using, I can't remember, flow control, that's what it's called. So I've got all the different kinds of pipes. This isn't necessarily for me to use. I just create these on the fly whenever I need them. It's more because the biters are going to damage pipes, and so the robot network is going to need to replace these at some point in the future around my perimeter wall. So I put them in here just so that the robots have got somewhere to come and get it. Then, because I've got these extended underground belts, I've also got extended pipes. So that's what this kind of block is doing. There's 4 individual different types of underground belts. The 4th version requires a pump. So this is where I make the pump. This is where I store the pump. This is where the robots come and get it. I've kind of sandwiched it in to produce it for these underground pipes, and then I'm going to use it as that's its permanent place to store, because it's the only thing that needs pumps. Then we've got various other things that need pipes. So boilers need a stone furnace. So I've brought in the stone and can build the stone furnaces here. That's where I'm going to store that. This is the nuclear boiler. What's it called? Heat exchanger. That's what it is. Heat exchanger. Then heat pipe. Then the flamethrower turret. Up here we've got just the specifically gear and pipe stuff. So chemical plants, valves, oil refineries, pump jacks, steam engines, steam turbines. Yep. Whatever they're called. Offshore pumps, fluid tanks. They need a tank, so as the same with the pump, they put the tanks here. So this is the kind of just all the stuff that needs pipes, so I can get it out of the way. So the same way that I'm dealing with the gear wheel stuff, I'm dealing with the pipe stuff, and then I'm going to do exactly the same with the copper cable stuff. It just keeps these kind of core elements out of the main bus, and I can deal with the processes that require these stuff one at a time. And they do group quite well. they do produce a factory that I think is elegant and is similarly sized as as other slices. So yeah, that's what that block is doing. So what I need to do now is I need to move the camera up again, and then I need to get on with the copper cable stuff, and then I need to start thinking about stone, because I'm going to need, if we go back to this, so this is a railway kind of interchange zone. So I've allotted my space. I've allotted a space, I think, here for a train station for stone, and it's going to be similar to these ones. So we've got a train station, then a bus, then a train station, then a train interchange, which this bus is also acting as. And then I'm going to link a train station up here, and then feed the stone in, and put the stone furnaces in here somewhere. I think. I don't really know how the sizes are going to work out at this moment in time. I think what I'm actually going to do is build the copper cable stuff, then zoom out the camera and start feeding the bus up. And then once I've got the bus in the right place with all the things going into the right things, then I can get work on the other side of the bus. Because I'm still anxious about how I'm going to level these two things out, how I'm going to create kind of this boundary line between the shopping mall and the coal power, which I'm going to have above it. I really want that line to be good. I want it to be straight. I want it to be defined. I don't want there to be any gaps. So I need to get to a point where the factory is developed both to a certain point on both sides, so that I can, whilst I'm zoomed out, and then I can piece together the bits and pieces that I need to level things out. I might end up putting the stone over on this side. Still not certain about that fact yet. This is how things play out. Sometimes you can't plan everything. You just got to feel your way through. So, move the camera, copper cables. Okay, so that's all of the copper cable stuff. Yeah, it's a really small amount of stuff. I mean, I haven't helped myself by just having one assembly machine for most of this stuff, and I've got more lamps, but I'm going to need more lamps. This stuff I'm not going to need very much of. These are little screens, by the way, so you can output certain numbers to the from the circuit network to these screens, and it will display it. So I use them for timing. So I'll have 3 of them next to each other, one for the minutes, one for the seconds, one for the milliseconds. But I might use other ones for... I'm not going to use all of these shapes and sizes. In fact, I probably won't use any of these 3. But, you know, if I'm building it, I may as well put it in here. It needs copper cables. But yeah, that's everything for... That's everything in this list. I don't need small electric poles. Cancel that. Don't need a beacon. Don't need a power switch. What I do need is my timing combinator. What I do need is a timing combinator. Okay, that's a mod. I need to get that mod in the game. So mod installed. There it is. Oh, constant combinator. Oh. Here's my constant combinator. That's where I'm making it. Oh no, and I need to... how am I going to get that? Very unsatisfactory. So I've rebuilt all of this. I've now got the constant combinator that I need for my timing combinator. I've had to put this screen down. Okay, so there's 7 screens, of which I'm only probably going to use 3, but I chose to put 6 in because I thought it would be elegant. But now I've got this little one over here, all as an orphan, just to occupy some space. Not happy about it. If I can find something else to put there, I will. But there's very, very limited options. Maybe I'll remove it, move these down, and try and bodge it somehow. I don't know. Up here, I've got all the black science stuff, so that will satisfy all of the rest of the 3 belts. The 3 belts that I need for the science bus. And then if I'm bringing in the blocks for the wall, then I may as well do some other bits and pieces that I need for the wall as well, with the blocks. So I've got steel furnaces and then all of the coloured blocks. There are 12 colours, so that works out in space quite nice. I need to figure out what I'm going to put here, but I don't really... There's a few of these gaps that I'm going to have to think about. I've got a few processes still remaining on my list, so it depends how it works on the other side. These are dead spaces at the moment, like this one here, and this one here specifically. I might use them, I might not, I don't know, we'll see. I'd like to think that I can fill them. Anyway, what I need to do now is zoom out so I can deal with the bus. However, that's probably for another episode. I've probably had enough rambling for today. The timing of these episodes is a bit funny, you know. I just generally tend to record until I run out of things to say, and then if it's about an episode's length, then I'll put it together into a video, and that's what I've done today. I've edited the video. Oh, it's about an episode. That'll do. I'll stop here. So, next episode, bus and the other side of the jumble shopping mall thing. Okay. Hope it's been interesting. Till next time.